to get started, I saw you guys last night,
Oh
and
my God.
yes, so I saw the opening. How was it like to open up in Detroit?
It's so exciting. I mean, it's our first new stop in about a month, and so it's always exciting to have that sort of opening night, those opening night jitters, and to get to experience a new audience in a new space.
Yeah, and also the Fisher Theater has so much history to it. So it's really fun. Every time we go to a new theater, we learn about what's been there before, how the theater sort of became part of this, national circuit, and what it's known for. So it was really nice last night. We got to sit in the lobby and look around and enjoy the sort of. We were told they wanted a mid-century modern, uplift, facelift.
Yes, yes, for sure. So, with this particular musical, so for me, I haven't seen the movie. I didn't see the production before. Like, I like to go into a musical, quote unquote, blind. Like, I don't listen to the music. It's been very hard to avoid that for like 5 years, but I have. So you're to me, Zoe and Cynthia. Why did you guys want to be a part of this particular musical, and what have you taken away from it? Because it's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's like you said, it is a pretty heavy musical. I mean, we're all very lucky to get along in the company and sort of to take care of each other as we put on this very heavy story every night. But I think there's something so universal about the story, right? At its core, under all of the drama and emotion, it really just is a story about wanting human connection. And I think especially now, not post pandemic, but post the onset of the pandemic, that's even more salient and even more relatable than ever. And it's really, especially in a touring production, it's really satisfying to get to bring a story like that to different people across the country.
Yes. What about
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. Um, I think that really echoing everything that Alaina said, I think that story, there is a character in the story for everybody. And the unique part about this play is that any group of people sitting in the audience will find one person to relate to. And I think that for me, you know, being able to show this dynamic family to different parts of the country, and, as a parent, that the themes were just really relatable to me. It was the first time that I really had thought that the roles of parents were written in a non-mocking way, in a real, true representation of the complexity of what it means to be a parent. Um, and I think it's really important for those things to be translated and represented on stage.
For sure. How do you guys kind of protect yourself mentally, but not cut yourself art from the dark materials? Because you could just be sad for years on tour dealing with this every night. How do you protect yourself mentally with that, but not shut yourself off from the emotion that you do need as an actor?
Well, I'll say that you know, the relationship between Cynthia and Zoe is very complicated on stage. What you see um, is is the worst of it. I mean, they're completely missing the connections. So I think something that's been nice for me, and I hope that Alaina feels the same way, is that we've developed this really wonderful offstage relationship, um, that is parallel to a mother-daughter relationship. Although we're not mother and daughter, we're very good friends, but we care for each other on this familial level. And I think it's actually deepened our work on stage, because in order to have a really complex relationship that is quite dark, you do also have to have the deep love in order to balance that out. So I think that what you're seeing on stage is not that. You're seeing all the dark, you're seeing the turmoil and the problem solving. But what's really nice is to be able to think about the connection and the love and the foundation and building those together as friends, but for our family dynamic.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Lily, I hope you know at this point that I feel the same way. I come off stage
I
every
know,
night and I
but
launch
in
myself into her arms.
in an interview, I'm not going to speak for you.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, you can, but yeah, we just kind of love each other to bits, which has been a great gift of this leg of the tour. Um, and and we're lucky to have really special connections with everybody in the cast, and to keep it light off stage. That's just, we have like this very deep connection. It's much more joyful than what you see on stage, and so that helps a lot. A lot of us in the cast have very good therapists, right? Or are really have found ways to develop routines on tour. So even something as simple as like finding a coffee shop that you go to every day to sort of feel like you have a home base and you have just a life outside of the show.
For sure. And how do you each relate to your character? Lili, I know you talked a little bit about you're a mom as well, but like being a mom is obviously so many layers. I haven't experienced this yet, but I'm expecting it because you're a human being. How is it? How do you both relate to your characters?
I don't know if you want to go first.
Sorry. No, yeah, I mean, definitely in being a mother, uh, it's this idea of the kind of love that is born when you bear a child. It's it. There's really no way to describe it, and I think that for me, it's been invaluable being able to sort of like reach into tap into that area of love that I had for my kids, and see in this kind of easily dislikable character, I see the good that she's trying to do. I really do. I like her a lot. I think that she is trying her best, and I think that you know that there is no map. There's no map for any parent. There's no right way to do things. As long as the love is there and you keep trying your best and communication's open, that's sort of what my takeaway from it is. I try to do that. I try to learn from the mistakes that the moms make in the show, and hopefully we can all keep learning from each other and be better and be more aware human beings.
Yeah, with Zoey, I feel like for me it's easier to say the ways in which I'm different from Zoey, because like I'm not very chill at all. I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings. But the ways that I relate to her, and I'm very blessed to have a good relationship with my parents. But I think when I without getting into specifics, like my personal struggles with mental health, and also when I was in high school in particular, people who I was very close to having struggles with mental health sort of make it easier to portray that role on stage. And I feel like, if anything, I feel very protective of Zoey when I'm on stage, sort of looking at this girl who's been handed a really rough set of cards, and watching her journey through forgiveness, watching the way that she deals with that first in anger, and then learning how to forgive and be soft and sort of approach the world with a kindness that hasn't really been shown to her.
For sure. I feel like probably every actor that plays the roles that you play might interpret the show differently. But for you as yourself, do you think your characters actually believe Evan's story, or is it just something that they need to believe at that point in time? Because honestly, it's really not that believable of a story. From Zoey's point of view, that you've never ever seen this and this was all via email. Like, how do you think it's just something that they needed at that moment and they were just going to go along with it? Or do you think they thought it was true?
I think it's a combination. I mean, of course, within the story, I think the story is something that really necessitates that sort of suspension of disbelief that you have in the theater, because everything is so heightened. I think for Zoey in particular, we see at the start of the show, she really is the most skeptical and does not believe it at all. And it isn't until really the idea that maybe something cracks open in her after Requiem. She realizes that this front of ambivalence that she's been putting on really isn't the all that she feels about Connor and his death. I definitely think there is a need. I think that unleashes the need to maybe have some hope that her brother didn't hate her, and that there was something more there than what she remembers. And so I think it's a combination of that desire leading them to really truly believe it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like the desire makes the vessel prepared to really truly believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that the Cynthia needs to hear one thing to make all of these, you know, ideas fall in place to make it believable. And she definitely fills in the gaps in her head because of the desire, but I don't think she's aware of that, you know?
For sure. I do think, at least I took away from it, is that if Evan and Connor did have the time to like actually meet and they were open to it, that they actually would have had good friends and went to this orchard, like that's what they needed for each other, and when Connor is alive and also after he passed. But what is your, it doesn't have to be the song you sing, it could be, but what is your favorite song from the musical?
It's so hard. I feel like I change my answer every interview that I have.
It's
It kind of
okay.
changes day to day.
I know. I was just like,
So
what did
Lily,
I say last time?
I mean, my goat, Good For You is just a straight banger. It's a great song. I used to understudy Zoey and Alana before I took over Zoey full time, and that was like my favorite song to sing as Alana because it's like a rock concert. I love Only Us. I think it's really in a show that is just so sad and dark so much of the time. It's really lovely to get to just stand on stage across from somebody and sort of emotionally connect with them and sing something happy and beautiful.
What about
Yeah, I mean, those two are two of my favorites as well. I
Like we
always
just
try to go
I get to sing it with Lily, and it's also a really fun song.
I always try to go back and think about the songs that I played over and over again in the car with my kids before I got the show. You know, like, so taking myself out of the role of Cynthia. Um, Map was a big one. And obviously my kids love Waving Through a Window. I think like anthem wise, You Will Be Found. It gets me every night. I mean, it is emotionally just like, even not as Cynthia, but just as a person in this world, like it is a great song. I think for me, the one that I would put on in the car and sing the most was Good For You.
I would say mine is either Requiem or Sincerely Me, because it
Yes.
adds like a levity because it's like really sad, but then it's just like, okay. And Jarek is kind of the good comic relief that the show
Yeah.
needs to kind of even it out a bit. But what is your favorite scene? You can be in it or not, but what's your favorite scene?
I really love the last scene in the orchard between Zoe and Evan. It's probably my favorite one to perform. And for the same reasons that I love Only Us, I think it's a really cathartic moment. And there's something very restorative about after this whole 2.5 hour tear fest, getting to just make eye contact with somebody that you care deeply about and just feel emotions at each other.
Yeah, I love the scene before words failed because for Cynthia, I mean, she really has to keep a lid on it the whole show and keep it together, hold everybody together. And it's the first time, it's the only time that I really feel like she gets to feel her emotions and act on them. And I'm a little more impulsive in real life than Cynthia is. So for me, it's very satisfying to be able to be frustrated with my husband and articulate that at the same time instead of having to suppress it.
I could see that. My favorite is definitely the orchard because I didn't realize it until like they're speaking and time goes on, is that the screens are gone and it's just kind of this moment of clarity. Um but speaking of screens and devices, it's such a heavy part of the show. How do you kind of handle social media and devices with your own mental health and it not being 100% of your life, which it was for Evan?
Yeah, I definitely have a very back and forth relationship with social media. I don't use it more often than I do. Like I'll go through phases of just deleting Instagram from my phone and then I'll download it to like my friend will be like, I tagged you in something. I'll be like, well, I guess I got to look at it now. I think it can be a really wonderful tool for connecting and for spreading messages and things like that. But I definitely find that personally, I need to sort of be careful about how much I'm using it because it can be worse for my mental health sometimes.
I think that I don't know if it's like a generational thing or because I mean, I didn't get onto the Instagram scene until much later. But I feel like it's something that I was told to sort of be more careful about, but I have a pretty good relationship with it. I use it, I don't use it, and it never sort of like takes the prioritization of my day, or I it's I'm more worried about screens in terms of my kids, because they're in a generation that it's like woven into their being, so um I think it's more on that perspective for me.
Yes. What I also love about the show and about art in general is that any person of any race could play these characters. And I think it each time, depending on the person's background, it could kind of have a different meaning to them and for the audience. How was it like to step into these roles that were originally white people?
I mean, definitely, like in terms of what I was saying before, with being able to bring this show specifically around the country to different areas that are maybe not so used to seeing mixed race families, are not, um, this is something that kids from mixed race families aren't seeing represented within themselves up on stage. That to me is like just the most important part of this, is saying, oh, we are a family, and it's not articulated what color anybody's supposed to be, and it doesn't matter, because that doesn't matter, and what matters is what we're defining as our family. So that has been very exciting to me. I also think it's changed the perspective of Cynthia and her privilege, which has been fun for me to, I don't know how that just happened. um, Technology. um, it's been really fun for me to explore these nuances that lie within there. um, I feel like in some ways I have more permission, in some ways I'm more limited, and it's just a different perspective that I'm navigating, sort of a different shape of the character.
Sure. And do you guys have any kind of backstage rituals? You've been on tour for a while that you kind of do each show, or that kind of connects you to get you guys prepared or winds you down after?
Yeah, before every show, the 8 of us who are doing the show that night circle up and we take 3 breaths together. That's always really nice. That's the one that I can think of. Whenever the lights go down between the finale and bows, Lily and I reach out and we hold hands.
And I always like to hold her hand until the lights come up, because
away.
I was thinking about this last night. I was like, why do I like to do that? I don't want to let go before the lights come up. I think part of me wants, I think it's kind of like the selfish part of me, that, because I feel like Cynthia goes through this moment of feeling a massive amount of guilt in failing Zoey. Obviously, she has this guilt wrapped around failing Connor, but I think within that distraction, she then realizes that she's failed Zoey through her grief. So I think that for me, I always want to hold Alaina's hand so that the audience can see that I really love her and care about her. Cynthia and Lily.
And do you guys have any tour essentials that like you have to always have with you?
My weighted blanket. That's like my number one. I gotta have my weighted blanket with me. I have we're allowed 2 suitcases on tour, like we're reimbursed for 2 suitcases, and they can be full-size suitcases. One of them I have to have a small suitcase, that way it's not overweight with my weighted blanket, so I physically can't overstuff it. And it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. I don't know. What are yours?
No, oh my God, I know. Well, I haven't been on tour as long, so I think I'm still kind of navigating. I'm like sending things home and bringing things. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, one thing I've really enjoyed having is um, I always have 2 pictures up in my dressing room of my kids, and I have a I brought out my portal, which is like a speaker device, sort of like an Echo, like an Amazon Echo kind of thing, but it also has a video camera, so I can easily like FaceTime with my family. And yeah, I've been really happy since I brought that out.
Yes. Is there something that you always do when you guys arrive into a new city, or that you try to make sure that you do in each city?
Find the best food. I feel like we have a lot of foodies on tour. I
We
don't know.
do. Actually, I just finished an amazing lunch when I'm sitting in the lobby of the hotel that the place is in, but it's called Carl's, and it's in the Siren Hotel. And I think it was the uh, the guy who plays Connor and I just had like the best lunch ever. This amazing sandwich. I just talk about food. It's like still in my mouth.
You're
It was
glowing.
so good. It's really good.
While you're here, you guys have to have like a Coney doll. That's like a essential Detroit thing.
Yes. Our PSM, our main stage manager, is from or went to college definitely in Michigan, but he that's on his list. That's like top on his list that he sent to us when he knew we were coming
Now
to Detroit.
what is it?
So it's a hot dog with chili on it, but not like chili that you would eat in a bowl, and onions and mustard. And it's really good. And it's just very essential Detroit. And then there's also Verner's, which is kind of supposedly like ginger ale, but it's completely different. To me, I think it's like 1,000% more carbonated. And then there's
Ooh.
Fago, which is what we call pop. That just tastes different, and like better made chips that also taste different. And I didn't realize that all of these things tasted different until I moved to New York for a couple of years.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
God.
oh, that's just not how like food tastes like, and that's what you make. So those are like essential things that you have to have while you're here. But it was awesome talking to you guys. I don't want to take up too much of your day because
You
you have a
too.
show at 8. You guys got to get it together. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me, and I look forward to talking to you guys about future shows.
Yes,
Thank you. You too.
Hey, thanks, and break a
Take
leg.
care.
Okay,
Thanks.
awesome.
Goodbye.
Bye.